Let's talk about Madonna's bestie, Lady Gaga. So apparently Lady Gaga dropped a new she's on the cover of Rolling Stone. Which it's like I was living for the photos. And I like the whole little finger claw thing, which I've seen before. I think Cobra does that. But a lot of you don't know about these underground girls. They'll always give the credit to. So yeah, I like the cover. I was like, okay, she looks good here. I was liking a lot of the looks and everything. But so yeah, so she opened up in the article. The article was actually really good where she was getting more into talking about her mental health, how she feels like because of Mayhem and Michael Polanski, her fiance, who is like her creative partner now, how she feels more like a healthy whole person. She got into a whole lot talking about the Mayhem album, putting the tour together, and all the things that she came with that, the exercising her demons and the whole gothic dream and stuff, which she does play that out in the Mayhem Ball tour, and also talked about how she was on them drugs, lithium. Why am I thinking of Nirvana whenever I say lithium? But it was like she was on lithium and while making A Star Is Born, and talking about the flopation of art pop. She also talked about the art flop of art pop. She also talked about Chromatica, how she felt like Chromatica was like the beginning of like her journey of what you get a lot more in Mayhem. But she said she didn't have enough of the vernacular or the creative poetry that she needed to express a lot of what she wanted to say in Chromatica. And I have to agree with that because I feel like with Chromatica, while you hear like with 911 and a bunch of those other songs which addresses her issues with mental health, I definitely felt like the album wasn't fully realized. Also feel like that same way with Mayhem. Well, I feel like you do get a lot of those personal feelings and thoughts and stories and stuff with the songs. I definitely feel like it does feel like she's in a way reheating her nachos. Like it doesn't feel as revolutionary as she thinks it is. The tour definitely, I feel like, exercises a lot of that. It feels more fully realized with the tour, but I definitely feel like the album, it feels like something's missing from this record. This is why I said that record is more mayhem than mayhem. But the tour overall, I definitely feel like it really gets the job done of what it is she's trying to say in regards of this era of music. So she revealed in the new Rolling Stone cover story that her psyche was unraveling during the making of A Star Is Born and in the months afterward while on her Joanne World Tour. As the pop icon bluntly admitted, she said, I did A Star Is Born on lithium, referring to the drug used to treat and prevent episodes of mania. There was one day that my sister said to me, on the first day of Christmas, my sister said to me, she said, I don't see my sister anymore. Gaga, remember, and I canceled the tour. There was one day I went to the hospital for psychiatric care. I needed to take a break. I couldn't do anything. I completely crashed. It was really scary. There was a time where I didn't think I could get better. I felt really lucky to be alive. I know that might sound dramatic, but we know how this can go. Now, Gaga was in one of the busiest periods of her career during this time. A Star is Born, in which Gaga played a rising pop star alongside Bradley Cooper as a fading country singer, started filming in April of 2017. A few months earlier, Gaga headlined the Super Bowl halftime show after putting out her album Joanne in fall of 2016. The tour of the same name kicked off in August 2017 after A Star is Born filming Wrapped and ran through February 2018. Gaga canceled the last 10 shows of the tour. A Star is Born then rolled out in fall of 2018, starting with a buzzy Venice Film Festival premiere. The film's press tour lasted all the way through the Oscars in February of 2019, where Gaga was nominated for Best Actress and won Best Original Song for Shallow. She even talked about how like she decided to bring in Shallow because she said it didn't really fit with the theme, but she had remembered because she wanted to make that song work in some sort of way, and she was all about chal- challenging herself. She said she remembered that there was like this drum loop or whatever that when she and Mark Ronson were working on it, that they had done when they were creating the song, but then they didn't end up using it, and she was just like, "Oh, I kind of want to use that for the tour." So she texted him, and he actually sent her the music for that, and that's why you hear that version of Shallow in the Mayhem Ball tour. So there She talked about her relationship with fiance Michael Polanski with saving her mental health. The couple began dating in 2020. She said being in love with someone that cares about the real me made a big difference. That love sustained Gaga through another tumultuous moment in her career, Joker Folie à Doo, the sequel to the Oscar-winning Joker paired Joaquin Phoenix opposite Gaga's Harley Quinn, but the reviews for the 2024 movie were disastrous. The box office was even worse. Folie à Doo flopped with just over $200 million worldwide, a huge decline from the $1 billion gross of the original. Gaga earned solid reviews for her performance, but the rest of the movie was torn apart by the press. And here's the thing. Gaga wasn't the problem with the movie. The problem was Warner Brothers. Nobody asked y'all to make another goddamn movie. Joker was a one and done type situation that did what it needed to do at the time that it came out. And I, quiet as it's kept, I wasn't even that impressed with the movie. I felt like it was just some ripoff of a Martin Scorsese earlier movie. It gave me Mean Street tease. It gave me Taxi Driver tease. Like, it just felt like a derivative of what I had already seen from movies that I had loved from old New York in the 70s. But I did like the idea of like mental health and the psychosis and all the stuff with the Joker. The movie to me, I just thought was overrated. And I saw it in the movies. I'm like, y'all overhyped this shit. It kind of made me feel like when I saw the Blair Witch Project, I'm sitting like, this is some overrated mess. So I didn't particularly care for it. And of course, Warner Brothers being greedy, they were, oh, it made $1 billion. Let's make another one. And then the director, Todd Haynes, I believe was his name, didn't want to make a sequel. There was never a plan for him to want to make a sequel. So Warner Brothers was going to leave him the hell alone. He was like, okay, well, since y'all not going to leave me alone, and I feel like y'all going to make this movie regardless, I'll just come up with whatever cockamamie story. I'll just make whatever. We'll make it into a musical and add a bunch of other things in it. And I'll just try to make it a quick cash grab since this is what y'all want to do. And then when it came out, people were like, what the fuck is this? And people didn't buy into it. It was a hot mess. They didn't want it. They saw it was trash, and we all moved on. So she basically said I wasn't like unfazed regarding the film's poor reception. She said it's funny, I'm almost nervous to share my reaction, but the truth is when it first started happening, I started laughing because it was just getting so unhinged. When it takes a while for something to kind of dissipate, that could be a little bit more painful only because I put a lot of myself into it. Well, the good thing about it is you didn't get panned for your performance. The thing was mostly about the movie as a whole, the writing, the story direction, all that other stuff. You went in, did the best you could with what you were given. So at least you get to walk away unscathed and with a lot of money, just like Joaquin did. And the director. The only ones that had to eat that failure was Warner Brothers. But then again, Warner Brothers not that upset because even though that Foley or Doo flopped, the good thing is Mike DeLuca and Pam Abdi was able to turn around Warner Brothers this year with all the plethora of movies, starting with Sinners and ending, I believe, with, well, I say Minecraft, then Sinners, and then it ended with Weapons, if I'm not mistaken, where they were on this winning streak of all their movies that they were releasing with Final Destination Bloodlines, a bunch of others being successful at the box office. So they also went on to say that she channeled the negative reaction to the Joker sequel into her music, most notably the Disease music video. It was the first single off her new album, Mayhem, which ended up returning Gaga to the heights of pop stardom. The album is currently nominated for Album of the Year at the Grammys. There was a ton of negativity around Joker, and I think I was feeling artistically rebellious at the time. I put so much of that energy into that video. I was in that place, I was like, I'll show you who I am and I'll show you what the fight is like. And so it's funny how like she was talking about putting it into mayhem and the heights of pop stardom because she said that she was going through this period of battling like Stephanie versus Gaga and Michael was like, if you think about it, they're one and the same. And I do feel like that when we come out with these alter egos or whatever, we are kind of like they are a part of who we are, whether we want to admit it or not. Now to get into the rest of the situation, there's more story to this story. I should say. And she also revealed that the criticism she received for art pop and her subsequent turn away from pop music that resulted in the albums Cheek to Cheek and Joanne provided a direct source of inspiration for Mayhem. She said, Mayhem, what, as a piece of music, I never would have made it without the 10 years of experience that I had. What would Mayhem sound like if I hadn't become a jazz singer? What would it have sounded like if I hadn't made art pop? Reflecting on her experimental 2013 album, which became a fan favorite in the years since its release, people do say justice for art pop. And I have to say, art pop was not a bad album. When she started doing Joanne and all that other stuff, I always felt that she kind of turned her nose away from the whole pop universe because pop in America is always seen as a bad word. That's why I love, like, in Europe and everything, they embrace being pop stars. They embrace pop music. Pop is not a bad word. Pop just means popular. But people who actually take those things about pop, which is like a good earworm or a good having a good ear for music and something that's catchy and could be impactful in what it is that you do with creativity and artistic endeavors and all other stuff. Like Madonna was able to perfect that. Yeah, she's a pop star, but she was also able to incorporate a lot of creative artistic visions and music and experiment. And I think like that's what pop allows you to do. Pop music allows you to experiment with different sounds or whatever. But I always felt like when you look at people like Lady Gaga, she's like, oh, they're not taking me seriously because the crazy outfits and all the other stuff is overshadowing the fact that I can sing, that I do play instruments, that I play the piano and the guitar, as you see and when she performs Garden of Eden in um on the Mayhem Ball tour. So I always say like her real instrument of choice has always been the piano. Which, like her, I was classically trained in piano growing up. Shout out to my music teacher, Miss Dunstan. Everybody else gravitated towards the violin. Chris went straight to the piano. So, because I was a rebel, even when I was a kid, I always went against what everybody else was doing. So, in a way, it's like she was trying to, in my opinion, from how I look at it, she was shying away from all that stuff because she wanted to be taken seriously as a musician. And in America, we are always about we have to be taken seriously. We don't relax or have fun. Everything has to be like we. I'm the real deal. I'm not some fraud. I'm not some phony. And let me tell you something. Gaga, I will say, as a performer, is the real deal. She gives 1,000% of her who she is every night. Her mic is always on. Even though I had somebody up in here trying to make excuses for Tate McRae, pretending she was singing into a microphone that was upside down. It's hard to sing and dance at the same time. You want real singing, go to Broadway. I saw, ain't no excuses in this situation. Now, if you one of them girls that has an okay voice and you really can't be up in here hitting them notes and you want perfection and just a pretty girl up there doing, they little 1-2 step, that voice ain't what it is, then okay, I'll excuse a Tate McRae or Britney or a Sierra. But when it come down to somebody that's really up there want to give you real talent, real drama, real this and real that, you're gonna get that from a Gaga concert. Madonna concert too, but for the most part, we talking about Gaga, so we got to stick on that. Now, reflecting on, let me make sure I'm not going to reread the same situation. Reflecting on her experimental 2013 album, which became a fan favorite in the years since its release, Gaga called the resounding critical panning of the project very impactful on the rest of her career, saying like much more impactful than any other criticism for any artwork. That was the first time that I ever had a major criticism about a piece of work that I made. Yeah, because we was living for the Fame and the Fame Monster era, more so the Fame Monster than the Fame. Then she came out with Born This Way, which I love that record. And that to me, I feel like that's like a little sibling to the what did I say? The Fame Monster era. And then she came out with Arpod, because and I will say like, yeah, you were getting into the whole EDM thing and you were experimenting because she went with DJ White Shadow. She was working with them at that point, but it did feel like the album did feel a little schizophrenic and all over the place. And she was like kind of teetering away from doing that and getting more into the electronic dance music. But I guess with critics, they were like, okay, what are you really trying to say with this record? It just feels like it's all over the place. But now a lot of people appreciate it. I still don't get the whole like what she was doing too much was like, oh, I'm gonna drink this nasty shit and I'm gonna just make myself throw up every night. Like, ma'am, you don't want to ruin your teeth. So you can't be up in here vomiting and stuff. Do like the fake vomit and stuff like they do in The Exorcist. Like stick a little tube on the side and you just have it them pump it out and it just regurgitates everywhere. Now Gaga described art pop as her EDM opus and said that the album's confrontational tone was created because she was being treated as a business rather than an artist at the time. She said, people don't like it if I say I won't dress the way you want me to dress. I won't have the hair you want me to have, and I'm gonna not make pop music the way that you want me to make it because you want everything to sound like Bad Romance, and I'm never doing that again. And now today we look at it, and when we talk about I'm not gonna make Bad Romance, I feel like the song that has succeeded Bad Romance, in my opinion, even though she does sing on the tour and everybody lives for it, she actually closed out the show with Bad Romance. And then she picks whatever song she wants to do her final curtain bow of the night. But Abracadabra, I feel like is a good successor to Bad Romance because it has those ooh gaga, oh rah rah moments, like oh ma moments like she puts in her songs that we live for, the gaga gibberish. So there's a lot of that in that type of song. So I think that is the most Bad Romance-ish type song that we've had from her in years. Now, as for the sexist undertones of that criticism, she pointed out that when male artists make new choices in their music, they are heralded as radical thinkers discovering new territory, while female artists are mocked. Because I was sort of heralded as like over. Now, after a decade of detours, including multiple film roles in The Star is Born, House of Gucci, and Folie à Doudou, Gaga says that she and her co-producers on Mayhem, Andrew Watt and her fiance Michael Polanski, knew that driving back into pop music meant she had to address that part of her career head on, saying one of the things I'm most grateful for is gaining all my artistic faculties back to make this record. I had to dig very, very deep and I had to change a lot of my life and recenter around what I needed as a human being. And here's the thing. Pop music, like I said, is just a word. It just means popular. You can take a lot of those creative, artistic endeavors and I guess because you are where you are in your career, you pretty much earn the right to be able to do that. And you can use pop music as a way to push yourself outside of the box, step outside your comfort zone, and take more creative chances when it comes to making your music. And I'm glad that she's finally come full circle with it. To me, I have to say, it's been a while, and you know how I be feeling about Gaga at times, because I do be feeling like a lot of times when she says certain things, it comes across as pretentious which kind of like annoys me with people. But I feel like this was the most transparent, the most honest, and the most vulnerable that she's been in an interview in a while. So if you get a chance, if you're able to, because I had to find ways to curtail around Rolling Stone because they want you to pay to read these damn all they damn articles, which is annoying. But I had to do a whole like how I get around them sometimes. There's a little way that you can kind of highlight. I had to copy and paste it into my website and read it that way. And then when I was done, I had to delete it. Which what I should have did was take the whole article and post it on my page. So for those who want to, I may actually go back and do that. So for those who want to go and read the full article, you can go to chrisavalon.com and check it out if you can't get around those stupid paywalls that they have on Rolling Stone. So I say all this to say, what do you guys think of this story? Have you read the article from Rolling Stone? I have to say, I love the overall look that she had. I like the cover. I like some of the photos that I saw. And it was a really good interview. So definitely check it out if you can. But in the meantime, I definitely want to hear from y'all. Let me know what your thoughts are on this story in the comments down below.